Meeting's called to order, June 8th, 2021. What do we get for a time?
6:04. Awesome, thank you.
6:04. Yeah.
Yep. Remote meeting instructions in keeping with the ongoing emergency order from Governor Charlie Baker to limit gatherings and maximize social distancing, and under legislation passed to address remote board meetings during the emergency declaration. This meeting will be conducted over Zoom. Attendance by board commission members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. So to join a meeting using your computer, click on the URL at the top of the meeting agenda or copy and paste it to the browser. To join a remote meeting using your phone, call the number provided underneath the URL. You will need the meeting ID to join by phone only. And one salient piece of information, this meeting will be held in the Zoom webinar format. All will join the meeting muted, with commissioners elevated to panelists with video and audio. Public participants are requested to stay muted until such time as they are recognized by the chair to speak in order to minimize background noise. To be recognized, please use the raise hand function or make a request via chat. If you are joining by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. When starting your conversation, please state your name and address for the record. So the meeting has been called to order. In attendance are Chair Tim Hurley, Vice Chair John Ventresco, Member Greg Strange, and alternate member Bishop. Also Wayne Beitler for staff, and we have members of the public from the Friends Crossing group in attendance. I would like a motion and a second for alternate Bob Bishop and Mickey Wolf, should she join later, to be voting members of this meeting. Could I have a motion and a second?
Hurley motion.
Okay, Hurley motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ventresco seconded. Roll call vote. I will call your first name, state your last name, and yes or no, of course. Tim?
Hurley, yes.
Okay, John?
Ventresco, yes.
Greg?
Strange, yes.
And Bob?
Bishop, yes.
Thank you very much. We have the minutes of February 17, 2021. Have folks had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Yep.
If I could have and you don't have to necessarily have attended that meeting to vote to approve, to accept the minutes, as long as you've actually reviewed them. So could I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes for February 17, 2021?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Thank you. And the second was that John?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, roll call vote, please. Tim?
Hurley, yes.
John?
Ventresco, yes.
Greg?
Strange, yes.
Thank you. And Bob?
Bishop, yes.
Thank you. Then we are rearranging to get to our regulatory item as soon as we can. I had sent out earlier a certificate of appropriateness application for a sign at 124 Main Street. I sent around the application, the plan specifications, and photographs ahead of the meeting. The application is by ID Sign Group Incorporated for the Sold by Gold real estate office in the one-story building at 124 Main Street. It's for a 24-inch high, 42-inch long, 4-inch thick blade style sign projecting out from the wall of the building, near to and above the door, secured to the building with stainless steel fasteners on the inward edge against the wall, and with 2 steel stabilizing cables connecting the front edge to the building's facade above. The sign will be aluminum, covered with a black vinyl background with gold vinyl and acrylic paint letters and graphics. The Commission's protocol is to first determine whether or not it is an important enough or significant enough change in the historic district that it requires a public hearing. If not, then we don't need to hold a public hearing. And then would be a grant of a certificate of appropriateness per the plans and specs. Does anyone have any questions about it?
Just for clarity, so this is just a, there's no raised letters on this. This is just vinyl on a surface.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I have no issues with this whatsoever.
Cool. Could I have a motion and a second that this exterior architectural feature is insubstantial in its effect on the Ames Local Historic District so that it may be reviewed by the commission without a public hearing?
Motion.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
Early.
Second was Bob. Is that true? Okay. Can people hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Roll call vote. Tim? John?
Pesco, yes.
Greg?
Strange, no.
No. Okay. And Bob?
No.
No.
Tie goes to the runner.
Okay, so
We have a little discussion here just to see what,
yeah, so what does this mean? Does this mean we now have to do a public hearing? Is that a true statement or yeah, what discussion, what's the thought here?
yeah.
Well, my concern is it's not really in keeping with the district, both in its overall color scheme but more to the point, the texture. I mean, it's really just it's a flat sign, you know, I would like to see. I would think in a local historic district we would have like other local historic districts in other communities. There'd be a little more depth and character to the sign.
Not to follow exact suit as Mr. Strange, I had the same feeling. It just kind of didn't look like it fit in with the other signage throughout the other buildings in the downtown area. It kind of looked just plain and didn't. The others had some character to them. This just looked like, as Mr. Strange said, just a board with a name on it. Again,
I'm going to change, if I may, go back to no. I agree with both. Great.
Well, stick to your guns.
No, I agree. You know, in hindsight. But my thing is, Wayne, can we just ask them to do a little redesign as opposed to have a public hearing?
Well, yeah, the motion and second was whether or not we need a public hearing for this.
Right. So we don't need a public hearing. We can ask them to come back with a little more sign with a little more pizzazz to it, if you will.
something more fitting to the surrounding sounds in the downtown area.
When you think historic, especially, what makes buildings historic? Typically, maybe it's how it's detailed. And I get that a lot of the buildings in this area, but the building that's going up on there, it has, there are relief panels. There's a I don't know what you really want to call it, but an architrave or a frieze board. But it'd be nice if this sign, maybe had some, like a molding line along the outside. If the letters were, I get that it's sort of a modern logo, but there are plenty of towns with local historic districts, such as Lexington, Saratoga, New York. I think that just require a little more depth and detail in their sign, and you can still have a modern logo. So instead of a 3/8 vinyl overlay, if it could be a little deeper, and if there could be some frame. I mean, this really just looks like a plain flat black board with some letters stuck on it.
Well, they called it a blade sign. They called it a blade sign, which is exactly what it is. But I would go the other direction, please, with my vote. And again, just ask them for some redesign as opposed to a public hearing.
Okay, so the vote is this, does this require a public hearing?
Let me just add my, I reviewed briefly our sign bylaw. I couldn't find anything where if push came to shove, that we would have a ground to stand on, where I agree with all the commissioners on what they're saying, 100%. But again, we can't go by opinions or what we'd like to see. We have to go by what our bylaws say. And we do have a sign bylaw. So we have to be careful.
Yeah, we're in the.
If I could jump in as the chair of the Planning and Zoning Board, which handles a good usually we get internally illuminated signs that come to us, or new signs part of a subdivision, but we have for the last 7 or 8 years, in conjunction with the creation of local historic districts and the Envision Easton master plan, as we've had more conversations in town about this, we've looked for a little more detail. Very often people just want to come up with a simple solution. They do it, maybe their sign company recommended, many times for cost. I'm not saying that was the case here, but John, to your point, I don't look at this as a legal action. I mean, we are charged with trying to maintain and enhance the local historic district. And if we take the route of, oh, well, I don't know if we can really ask for that, then we're really wasting our time even having a local historic district.
Well, again, I agree with what you're saying, Greg, but at the same time, that's why we have laws. So I'm always looking at this from the applicants and saying, well, I abided by this. I didn't see anything there as far as historic districts that would be like we have the demolition bylaw. We have to go.
So under the local historic district bylaw, exclusions are wood signs for residential-based businesses.
That's it.
So if we,
So this sign would be subject to review and approval by the local historic district commission.
Right.
if we ask this party to refrain from a public hearing and just come back with a redesign that's a little more susceptible to the neighborhood, we're not overstepping, or we're not denying the individual a request for that. We're just asking them to put something a little more creative, as others have said, to the district.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes before we lose our Zoom account for this meeting. We have 2 things before us. One, that this is insubstantial, that it does not require a public hearing, and then 2 would be to grant the certificate of appropriateness. So for the first vote, we have a motion by Tim and a second by Bob that the exterior architectural feature is insubstantial in its effect on the Ames Local Historic District, and it may be reviewed by the commission without a public hearing.
Correct.
So right now we have 2 for and 2 against.
Right,
that
so-
we can- Yeah,
So
Can I jump in, since we're short on time? Can we just continue this and either the chair or the staff liaison of this board have a conversation with the folks and see if they want to come in with a redesign? Or are we if we're under the gun, and if we don't act tonight, then they get it by right, then we have to request a public hearing?
I absolutely agree with Greg, and again, in the interest of time, I don't think we should be enacting anything here and delaying the applicant. I think that we can discuss this with them, as you said, Greg, with our chair, with Wayne, and see if we can come to a conclusion without having to go into a lengthy process and have a public hearing.
we had, the application was complete and final on May 20, and we have 14 days to determine if it's significant enough to require a public hearing. So that's the public hearing window that we're operating within.
So we're gonna have to require a public hearing unless we want to approve this sign.
Well, no, you can decide it doesn't require a public hearing, but then you can decide to not grant a certificate of appropriateness.
Oh, and they can do the sign. So then we do that.
I think
I would recommend we do that,
That's
Yes, yes.
since we have 2 minutes left here.
Okay, so public hearing, we've got Hurley. It's not, we don't need one. So Hurley,
Right.
yes. Okay, Ventresco, yes. Strange,
Yes.
okay, and then Bob.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second motion, a motion and a second to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed sign. So could I have a motion and a
So
second?
moved.
Okay.
second.
Could I have a second? That's John. Thank you. Ventresco. All right, roll call vote.
Strange, no.
Okay. Tim.
Really, no.
Okay, John.
Tresco, yeah.
Ventresco, yes. Okay, and Bob.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Since we only have 2 minutes left, we need to adjourn. We're not going to be able to get to 1:30 Lincoln tonight. I'm so sorry, Cheryl and Paula, for your time. Thank you for attending. We still have 1 or 2 minutes. We need to organize and vote for chair and vice chair. Tim and John, would you like to continue as chair and vice chair?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Could I
So
have,
moved.
thank you. Could I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. Roll call vote. Tim,
Hurley, yes.
John,
Just, yes.
Fred,
Strange, yes.
okay, and Bob.
Bishop, yes.
And then an representative to the Community Preservation Committee. John's indicated he'd like to do that. Could I have a motion and a second for John Ventresco to continue as the
moved.
school commission? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Bob, okay, roll call vote. Tim,
Hurley, yes.
okay, John,
Yes.
Greg,
Strange eye.
thank
Yeah.
you very much, and Bob,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank
Second,
you.
Hurley, yes.
Francesco, yes.
Strange, yes.
yes.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks all. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye now.